Good morning, everybody. It's time for the Merkle Retirement Minute. Actually, we're going to spend several minutes with Laura Merkle because this is the time of year when you really need to buckle down and try to make sure you dot some I's and cross some T's before the end of the year.
Yeah, we're officially in December 2nd, which means not much left at the end of 2019. So let's talk about to-dos, Lauren Merkle, things we should be thinking about, especially as we're trying to plan for our future.
Yeah, we're talking about year-end planning, but I think it's important to note when we're not talking about year-end is the last week in December. Because if we're waiting until the last week in December, post-Christmas, a lot of the tips that we're talking about today, it may be too late for it. Meaning because the volume is heavier at that point, we have holidays, and so a lot of these things may not be able to get accomplished. So right now
is when you need
is year-end.
Okay. So let's get started. What's the first thing we should do?
Well, this is also the time where we're ending the harvesting season in the fields. This is what we're talking about from a tax planning standpoint is tax harvesting.
Okay.
So, and what we're talking about here is in our taxable accounts. So not IRA accounts, not employer plan accounts, but taxable accounts where you pay taxes on dividends and capital gains that you realize and receive every single year. But there's a trick called tax harvesting, meaning that in your taxable account, you probably have some positions that are down, meaning that you have some unrealized losses.
Okay.
So you've received some dividends throughout the course of the year. You may have sold some positions to realize some gains. What you can do, if it makes sense, is sell some positions that you have a loss in to offset some of the dividends or the capital gains, meaning that you wouldn't have to pay taxes on those gains. On the losses. So let's say you sold $3,000 worth of losses, you had $3,000 worth of gains, that means you're not going to owe any taxes on those gains. Whereas if you just had $3,000 of gains and no losses, now you're paying taxes on the $3,000 of gains.
Okay.
So that's called tax harvesting to offset some of the gains if it makes sense in your account.
So is it a good way of saying that to take now in December before the December 31st to look at your portfolio and see how maybe we can finagle things or harvest, as you said, to make things a little bit easier for you?
Yes, this is the time that you really want to finalize these tax harvesting type of strategies.
So what does the overall portfolio look like when you do this? Is there going to be an adjustment in your portfolio's worth by doing this harvest?
There wouldn't be an adjustment in your worth because let's say that you have a $10,000 portfolio and you sell $3,000 and you incur a loss, you're still going to have the $10,000 portfolio.
Okay.
Okay, it's just you're going to have different positions than what you would have had prior to that transaction.
Okay.
So it's not going to change
so
the value.
You're not really out anything.
It's not going to change the value of your portfolio, but what it can change is how much you pay to Uncle Sam when you file taxes in the spring of 2020.
So that's why you want to do it before.
And you have to do that prior to 12/31 in order for that to count for this year.
Got it.
So that's from a tax harvesting standpoint.
Okay.
Now there's a number of things that you can do from a contribution standpoint.
All right.
And the first one, and this is sometimes there's mistakes that happen with this because with your IRAs, you can wait until April of next year to make these contributions.
Some people say, oh, we do that the first week of April.
That's right. But with your employer plans, you have to have those contributions done by the end of this year. So if you're under 50, you can contribute a maximum of $19,000 to your employer plan. If you're 50 and older, it's $25,000. So a lot of people get a year-end bonus. And if you haven't maxed out your employer plan, the $19,000 or the $25,000, what you may want to do is take a bigger chunk of that bonus and allocate that towards your employer plan.
Okay.
To try to max that out. That's a year-end strategy that a lot of people will try to employ.
Right.
To get as much money as they can underneath the employer plan.
Right, in the over 50 area that you mentioned, that's kind of a catch-up by giving you that little bit of extra ability for an extra $6,000.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. So 50 and above, you get a $6,000 catch-up. That's very good, Lou.
You're
paying attention.
and you really should take advantage of that, shouldn't you?
If you can. Yeah. If you can. I mean, certainly when you retire, you're going to appreciate having a little bit extra underneath your plan.
Little boost there. So, okay, so we're harvesting, we're contributing, all need to be done by the end of the year, but there's some other dates that are coming up right around the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner for 529 plans. So 529 plans are educational savings accounts that also have to be done by 12/31.
Okay.
So again, a lot of people will think, nope, I have it till April of next year.
Nope.
Any contributions that you make to your 529 plan, if you want to qualify for the 2019 state deduction, tax deduction, have to be done by the end of the year. If you're a single filer, you can deduct right around $3,400. If you're filing jointly, right around $6,800.
Okay. So
And that has to be done by the end of the year.
you need
By
to,
the end of the
you
year.
need to have that in place. And speaking about the end, you're talking about the end. By the end of this week, you also need to take care of your Medicare stuff too, right?
Medicare. So December 7th, if you're already on Medicare and you want to change your plan, the open enrollment goes from October 15th to December 7th. So after December 7th, if you want to change a plan, you have to wait until next year, October 15th.
What did we call it a couple of weeks ago, Jackie? Plan D-Day?
Plan D-Day.
Just try to remember that date. So you need to have that done by Saturday.
Yeah, you have to have it done by Saturday, and that's why if you're in the open enrollment period, this is when you're getting the phone calls, this is when you're getting the mailings, the emails. You're just getting bombarded with all this information, which can make it confusing. But whatever decision you make, you just need to make sure it's done by Saturday.
And why is that important when we're thinking of our future for Merkle Retirement Minute?
Well, because from a Medicare standpoint, these plans, they change almost every single year. So the plan that you chose for 2019, based on your health conditions, based on the drugs that you take, based on your circumstance, may not be the most appropriate for what you're going to go through for next year. So you just want to match up whatever the available plans are with what your current circumstance is, and that's why they give us that open enrollment every single year.
Yeah, and that's a big investment to make, so you want to make sure you're making the right one.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have December 7th, which is coming up this weekend.
Saturday.
Make sure you mark that on your calendar. But again, start thinking of these to-dos to do now because they need to be done by the end of the year.
That's right. And a big one to avoid a penalty is make sure you take out your required minimum distributions.
Yeah, explain how that works too. Because that has to happen, right?
That has to happen. Otherwise, you are assessed a 50% penalty.
In other words, you're going to lose half of it.
That's right. So if you're, then this is for 70 and a half and older. So if you're 70 and a half and older, from your retirement accounts, you're mandated to take distributions out by the end of this year. So let's say your RMD, your required minimum distribution, is $10,000. You do not do it, it's January 2nd. Then you owe a penalty of $5,000, 50% of the amount you're supposed to take out.
So you have to pay that to them?
You have to pay that as in the form of a penalty, and then you still have to take the $10,000 out that you were mandated to take out and pay taxes on it.
Oh, geez.
Oh, great.
You cannot miss this.
So this is a 1-2 punch, to be honest with you.
It's a big, big punch.
All right.
It's a knockout punch.
Now, you've been talking about a lot of things here, and people are saying, well, this is maybe a little bit overwhelming to them. So, oh, I got to do this, I have to do this.
Yes.
Is there still time for somebody to get an appointment with you, to come in and have you talk to them and try to walk them through some of this?
I wouldn't wait.
Because I know you guys are getting to crunch time, aren't you?
Yep, it's crunch time. So this is, you can call us if you're working with a planner, call your planner. Just make sure that you address these types of circumstances and make sure you're not missing the deadline.
Right.
Another to-do to put on that list, maybe if not before the end of the year, into the new year, is be part of one of your passport classes.
Yes, we teach these passport classes. The next one is tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
It's full.
I was going to say it's probably full.
That's okay. We have 2 more next week.
Oh,
those
nice.
are getting close to full, and that's going to round out our classes for this year.
All right.
So then we're going to be looking into January when our next classes are, and it's classes where we talk about the 5 components of retirement planning: the income planning, the tax planning, the long-term care, health care planning, estate planning, and as well as the investment planning pieces.
Now, for those people that get signed up for next week, since tomorrow's is already full, are you going to teach them and show them some tools they could still utilize this year?
Most definitely.
With their plans?
Most definitely.
Okay, so jump on this. Don't waste any time for this. This is the last couple of times for an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, we don't charge anything for the class, so you're not out anything. We have a lot of fun at the class, and you can sign up at merklretirementplanning.com.
Right. If you're hearing some new terminology like harvesting and making sure they're helping you out with your taxes, you want to be a part of this. If they want to get in touch with you, Lauren, again, remind us what's the best way to do so.
merklretirementplanning.com, or you can call 515-278-4110.
Perfect.
All right.
thank you. All
Thank
right,
you.
we got our to-do list for the end of the year, which means do
Cha-ching.
it
That's what this guy
right
is. That should be your nickname.
now.
Cha-ching.
There you go.